Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Paul Heyman, and tonight he becomes a Hall of Famer. I'm so happy for you.
Well, thank you.
I really am. I think I speak on everybody this week who's excited about so many big things, but everybody's so happy for you to have this day. How do you feel?
I haven't thought about how I feel yet. I just I know that there's. I know this means a lot to a lot of people.
It does.
I was very shocked by that. You know, I had a certain viewpoint of the Hall of Fame, and then I was approached by Paul Levesque on it, and being that this was the first year that Paul Levesque picks the whole class and picks his first inductee and picks his headliner, and then he came to me with it, was such an honor that I couldn't turn it down. Plus it's in Philly. Plus it's WrestleMania 40.
How much does Philly play a role in you accepting the honor, Paul?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's another part of the. I mean, the reason is, one, the invitation from Paul Levesque on his first year of doing it. Two, it's Philadelphia.
Sure, of course.
You know, and three, my kids have wanted this for so long. Probably because they're afraid I'm going to drop dead and they don't want to accept it posthumously. So. But once I took the gig and I started to realize what it meant to so many people, it kind of put me into a different mode, because now I just have to deliver, and that with a microphone in front of me and an audience to play to, I've never had nerves about. So
right, that's who you are.
Yeah. So I mean, accepting the compliments during the day while I'm trying to get all these other things done, and still take care of all the business of Roman Reigns and of the wise man and everything else, and having to, you know, oh, thank you so very much and everything
Right.
else. That's the cumbersome part.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because that's actually when I was thinking about sitting down with you today. Tonight is so significant of accepting the honor, of your life being documented in a way, and then you having to speak of it at that moment of being inducted. But then knowing, well, hold on a second, I'm also trying to juggle and balance the fact that it's the busiest work week of my year, and not just the busiest work week of your year, but I'm sure you could go back in time and you could probably say, it may be one of the most significant weeks of my career when it comes to what's going to happen on Saturday night, what's going to happen on Sunday night. And I don't want to use the word culmination, because you've said third inning a year ago. We may only be in the fourth or fifth. But for many people, when it comes to what we've been dealing with, this is the high water mark.
For now, until next year.
Right.
Until next year.
Right. So how do you juggle all of it, is the point?
As best as I possibly can. This is what I was put on the earth to do, is to go out there tonight and deliver a message. That's my gig. That's what I do. And I dare say, with very few people that could be offered as exceptions, I probably do it better than anybody else. But that's all that I do well. I mean, because I suck at everything else in my life. And so, you know, if I was all of a sudden put in, okay, you're the second baseman for the New York Yankees and we're going into the World Series, we're going to lose. I have absolutely no doubt about it. You know, hey, you know, the head football coach of the Super Bowl team dropped dead. You're a motivating guy. You're coaching a football team. Bet against us, because the other team's going to win. But on this occasion, an arena filled with people, hyped for a moment, and a microphone in front of me, and an opportunity to communicate with them. That's my sweet spot.
But tonight's message is about reflecting on your career and accepting this honor. And the career spans such a long period and so many different eras and times and layers and rungs on the ladder. So when you accept this honor, you have to immediately flash and think about what stands out. You start off as a precocious teenager and a photojournalist and a guy who's just got the buzz and the bite and the bug of the business. You transition to the Paulie Dangerously years. You have what happened here in this town that forever changed sports entertainment with ECW. And now it's a generation plus of really handcrafting what's been going on in WWE. What becomes the flashpoint? What becomes the thing that you're drawn to when you reflect on your career that you will message tonight?
This is not as much about me as it is about the people that got me here.
Okay.
And you can't tell my story without telling the story of Dusty Rhodes letting me into a production meeting. You can't tell my story without telling the story of Jim Ross teaching me how to be an announcer. You can't tell my story without the understanding of how many of the great script writers in this industry, the creative forces, the bookers in this industry opened up their books and taught me the mechanism by which to assess talent and what goes on first and why it doesn't go on third, but this should go on second because it can follow first but lead into third. And you can't tell my story. I don't get here to this without the audience. It's the response of the ECW audience that changed the business's percent. See, because before ECW, I was just a loudmouth kid with a lot of ideas that was trying to buck the system, trying to disrupt where the industry was headed, and I was just a pain in the ass. And that's, this pain in the ass again. What does he want? What do you want to do? Oh, hey, what do you want to do differently now, Paul? And then, well, I'll show you. And then I got into ECW, and we did, in February 1994, we did a three-way match, a three-way dance. Shane Douglas, Sabu, Terry Funk, and took the shot of it going a full hour. And as the match concluded for an hour, the audience was either going to say, "Oh, job well done," or they were going to boo us out of Philadelphia. And neither happened. The audience stood up and started chanting ECW, which had never happened in this industry before. Because they would chant for Sabu, they would chant for Shane Douglas, they would chant for Terry Funk, but they wouldn't chant the letters of the promotion. And once that caught on, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the kid has some ideas here. And then all of a sudden my opinion meant something in this industry. So from there, it's the audience. So the key tonight is, what do they want to talk about? Not to steal what Cody Rhodes says to the audience, but that's a brilliant catchphrase. So what do you want to talk about? And what's their mood tonight? I don't know. I may come out there and they're just maybe we want to talk about ECW, and then again I may come out there tonight and we're here to acknowledge the tribal chief.
Right.
And there may be some people here that say, "Hey, take us back to the Dangerous Alliance days." And the audience may be out there just saying, we don't care about that. I won't know till I'm out there, till I feel them, and then I'll know how to deliver for them.
You know what I find interesting in having that conversation about the chanting of ECW? There are only two brands in American sports in my lifetime as a journalist where I found that to be true. The other chant that I often hear in my coverage of sports is when I'm doing an Alabama game or a Georgia game or an LSU, and it's SEC. And what it really is, it's tribal. And what you really did in the pro wrestling community is you created a certain tribe that likes the brand to be a certain way and has an appreciation. You have a great appreciation of that. And I know the word tribal is a central theme in your life now, but that's really, to a certain extent, what you did, don't you?
Absolutely. And the politically sensitive narrative would be, well, it was all about the community.
Yeah.
It's about the extreme community. But ECW wasn't really a business, it was a cause. And the cause was we wanted to lead the industry. It's like any genre of music. You talk to somebody in punk rock has to take over. Talk to somebody in hip hop, hip hop is the wave of the future. Hip hop is going to lead the way. Talk to somebody who's into rhythm and blues, and they'll tell you that their genre of music works. And we were a group of people who had all come together to change the industry that we all were in love with. and lusted for and wanted to see the industry go down this way. And the industry at the time was so stuck in its ways and had become such an artifact in a museum creatively that we just had to come out of the gate blasting with a completely young, new, different, vibrant concept that if you put it all together, the catchphrase of a name for it was extreme. And so it's that movement,
Right.
you know? So yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, some would call it a cult. Okay, it was what it was,
Right.
but it did what it was intended to do. It changed the industry.
So if we label that as sort of the ascendant rise stage of Paul Heyman in your career as to what you became, and then we label the last 4 years as the late summer, the early autumn of your career, you still are in a robust stage creatively and maybe even the best you've ever been. How much pride do you take in the last 4 years? How much pride do you take in when all of a sudden it's you and Roman together and the master plan is set and you reflect now on the last 4 years of the Bloodline?
I don't know if it's pride as much as it is a sense of humility, because I'm blessed every day I get to work with Roman Reigns. That is quite a man, quite a standard to set.
Greatest of all time?
You know, there's an argument that can be made for that. And there's an argument that can be made based on different criterion for some other people. Mm-hmm. I think he is the most transformative performer of all time. And the reason why, that's
transformative is the descriptive you use. How so?
Well, he was out as the big dog. He didn't want to come back. He had already main evented multiple WrestleManias, but wasn't the guy in the industry.
Right.
He was already a multiple-time champion, but he wasn't the guy in the industry. He defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania, won titles at WrestleMania, closed WrestleMania to all this pyro and all this ballyhoo and all this marketing behind him, and still wasn't the guy. Because it wasn't an authentic portrayal of the persona that stood before you. And he comes back in August 2020 as the world has shut down. The entire world has shut down. The zombie apocalypse has hit. And everybody's locked in and frustrated and angry and with no patience to watch an entire television show, let alone a 2 or 3 hour production of sports entertainment with no audience there, when the audience has always been the audience reaction has always been the key component in the presentation of sports entertainment, and that's gone. And he comes back and he looks at it not as a detriment, not as limiting, not as constraining, but as opportunity. What an opportunity we have. Hey, we can play right to this camera. I can whisper into the camera. Now you can hear me. Because I'm wearing a microphone over here. And because I'm wearing a microphone here, I can whisper and you can hear me. We could never do that before. We always had the crowd noise to deal with. And he looked at the opportunity that was in front of us and said, my God, we can change this whole business in the way that it's done. And I would dare suggest that the past 4 years, the presentation of the tribal chief is as disruptive a movement in sports entertainment as ECW was in the 90s.
In a far more refined way. It's the other end of the spectrum, but has the same result, in my opinion, right? I remember having a conversation with you maybe 3 years ago, so we're a year into the tribal chief at the time, and I said, Paul, what the two of you are doing is magnificent with its silence, with its pauses, and with its anticipation. Even as simple as how long the pause is before the hand goes out for the microphone. The entrance and the way the walk happens, right? The rise up of the belt. There's an intimacy in its refinement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because there's a street movement where the passion rises from the street, and the masses sing your praises.
Yeah.
And then the masters have to listen to the masses, and they have to change the presentation and the overall product itself that's being presented, sold, and distributed. And then there's the pageantry and the majestic presentation of the top star. Of the top star in the entire industry, and how he carries himself, and the manner in which he rules over this new relevancy that has been bestowed upon the industry itself by him. That's a more refined, that's the B in subtle.
I would regret if we didn't take the conversation before we close back to you, reflecting on things on the day that you go into the Hall of Fame. And with your permission, I do want to share a story that you once shared with me, because I think the audience deserves that. And that is the story of your parents, but specifically your mother and the horrors of her childhood, but then the quest for education and the passion for education and the passion to incrementally evolve and better herself in life here in America. And the lessons learned and taught by her and for you. And just curious, on a day like today, how much do you feel like you carry with you her constant quest and passion to grow, to be better, to find success?
My children are my breath. When my daughter was born, my father turned to me. My daughter was my firstborn. And when she was born, my father turned to me and he goes, well, now you're going to learn to love something more than yourself. And he was right. And I desperately love both of my children and live for them. But my parents are my heartbeat. And I carry them everywhere I go, because everything I am is because of what they taught me, raised me to be, or raised me not to be. I accomplished so much early because I had no fear. Nothing scared me. Nothing. I didn't blink at any adversity because there was nothing that this world could put me through that remotely compared to what my mother had gone through as a Holocaust survivor. So what the hell did I have to fear? What, bankruptcy? Okay. Humiliation? Okay. Embarrassment? Okay. Get my ass kicked? Okay. Go broke a couple times? Okay. But I'm waking up tomorrow morning.
Right.
And now I'm smarter because I just had that experience. And I know I don't want to go down that path again, and I'm not going to. So that's one hole I'm not going to fall into. And I'm going to fall into that hole and that hole and that hole and that hole. But when I dig myself out of those holes, I'm tougher to deal with every time. And I'm going to reinvent myself every time. And I'm coming back for more because the problem is that once you fall down, if you accept that as, well, I tried and I failed, failure is the greatest ingredient of success, because it makes you want it more, and it prepares you for the adversity that's coming at the next stage, because whatever happened that made you fail at level 1, hey, the people on level 2 are a lot tougher, a lot meaner, and a lot more proprietary and a lot more possessive of that spot being level 2. And if you happen to make it to level 3 after failing at level 2, then I'm telling you, the crowd on level 3 is a lot tougher than it is on level 2. That's just the nature of upward mobility. My father was a street kid from the Bronx who went through law school on the GI Bill. That was the only way he was going to be able to afford it, and spent his life as a lawyer, till he died at 87 years old. He was a lawyer, and he loved being a lawyer. And every day of his life that he woke up, he was like, I'm a lawyer. I love my job. I'm going to go and do it. Vince McMahon Sr., Vincent James McMahon in Madison Square Garden, I heard him say this to somebody. He said, you know what the problem is in life? So many of my friends wake up in the morning and they say, I have to go to work. I wake up in the morning and I say, I get to go to work. I subscribe to that. I get to go to work at a job that I love. And that pursuit, that ruthless, fearless, passionate, intense, understanding I'm going to fail and don't give a damn that I'm going to, because I'm going to come out the other side of it anyway, comes from my parents. 100%. I owe my motivation at this age to move forward to my children, and I owe everything that I am to this moment to my parents. They got me here, and I still haven't filled either one of their shoes in terms of how much of a human being I can be.
And that seed of relentless pursuit is why we congratulate you today, and you're going to be a Hall of Famer. What a wonderful visit with you, Paul. Congratulations on tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
That was lovely. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.